There will always be more to learn about the past, and several incredible ancient artifacts that have been found recently are adding to what is known. Found around the world, each can change the way we view the past. In Pembrokeshire, Wales, a citizen was out with their metal detector when they found an ancient Celtic chariot. It was buried in a field, and archaeologists determined that it was there for at least 2,500 years. When found, the chariot wheels were standing upright in the ground, as though the chariot had been placed in the ground as it is used, and simply buried that way. The nearby horse tooth makes it appear that it was buried with the horse as well, and this has been found to be a common method of burial in the time. Ground radar was used to find the remainder of the chariot before the dig begun, finding several circular ditches, walls, and other Iron Age items. Tradition was that high-ranking members of the community would be buried with their chariot, including the tack, and their horses as well as weapons. Using ground-penetrating radar, the remainder of the field was surveyed and a wider area excavated. After finding the Celtic chariot burial, it was discovered that beneath it was more metal, perhaps a weapon stash, with more digging needed to find out. A gold-inlaid iron spear that was found on Okinoshima is the earliest evidence of such a weapon within Japan. It was found on the Island of the Gods in 1954 and is being studied further now with advanced technology that simply wasn't available until recently. It measures at 12 inches long and was housed in a gilt bronze sheath, sealed against the elements. X-ray and CT scans were completed to view the images that were beneath the corrosion that covered some of the surface. Some of the images found included phoenixes, arabesques, tortoiseshell design, feathers, flowers, and more. The process used to create these is kintsugan and involved embedding gold into fine grooves carved into the iron. It produces intricate designs and delicate images. It is these images that cause experts to believe that the spear was made for ritual and sacrifice, rather than for use as a weapon. When making a weapon that is intended to be used in war, they are often basic but strong, well fit to the user, with a solid hand grip and sturdy blade. Created in the 6th or 7th century, this sword is delicate and ornate, which suggests that it was made to honor sea deities, rather than being used in war. This confirms the long-standing religious culture that has been maintained since the 4th century AD. In later years, other religions gave way to Christianity, where no deities would be pictured. Evidence of the manufacturing that most of Finziad was involved in during the 1st century BC has been found with a plaster mold of Medusa. Once a booming urban city, near the end of the occupation there was a drastic shift to manufacturing. In one area of the city, a location was found where masks were made. The facility left behind several molds and matrices, showing the range of masks and other items that they created. It also provides insight into the religious beliefs and the deities that were worshipped. This window into the cultural expectations and aspects of their manufacturing and their decorations or statues is providing a lot of further information into the civilization. Several of the commonly used symbols were found inscribed on relics of the dig, and further study is continuing to determine which are ritual, decorative, or other. Finzia founded the city in 282 BC, and it was the last Greek colony within Sicily, and it remained for 2 decades before being defeated by Rome. Other archaeological digs around the city have revealed other aspects of life with homes, other manufacturing sites, and evidence of the Greek city throughout. Another type of head was found beneath the Forum of Trajan in Rome. This is the head of a statue that was separated from its body at some point. He is an adult male with wavy, thick hair, and appears to be concentrating on the task at hand. As part of the excavation of Via Alessandrina, this statue piece was found in a colonnade with 40-foot marble columns, several aisles, and a portcullis. The location of it in the medieval layer with bricks and lime mortar suggests that rather than falling where it was instead used in a future build as building material. While it was not determined who the head is depicting, it has been suggested it may be the head of Dionysus, god of wine. Other options being considered are Trajan, who ruled between 105 and 115 AD. Another discovery that was made by surprise is that of a 4th century gold ring with a red gemstone. Now housed at the British Museum, it was found through use of a metal detector by a local resident in Sedgeford, Norfolk. The stone itself has been carved into the image of Diana the Huntress. She carries her bow and has for company a dog or a stag. Further study is needed to learn more about the carving, whether it is a stag or if it is a hunting dog, and details on the manner of carving and tools used. These details can narrow down where it was made and help to provide information about manufacturing, tools, and design choices. Similar sculpting has been seen in both other gems and on coins from the same time period, confirming the time that it was carved. Believed to be carnelian, the gemstone is oval in shape and set into the gold band. The band of the ring is made of 3 wires of gold that are intertwined. Designed to create a triangle to mount the gem, they create an intricate and delicate band. Damage seems to have been limited to the band or gold of the ring, with the stone remaining complete and showing no damage. It is yet unknown who owned the ring, or who made the ring, but it is well suited to the time period and location at which it was found. A sheathed sword from the 6th century has been found near Canterbury, Kent. The scabbard is made of leather and wood, with beaver fur lining it. Both the leather and the fur are surprisingly well preserved for the years that it spent undetected. The sword within stands out due to the intricate patterns and runes that are carved into the blade itself. Additionally, the hilt is silver and gilt and covered with patterns. The pommel itself has a ring attached, which might represent an oath to a king. However, this has not been determined to be true. Within the cemetery that the sword was found in, there have been 12 graves located, and it is expected that they will find around 200 burials. Graves that had male skeletons were also found to have weapons and shields, while those of women had jewelry and knives. As a pendant was also found in the grave where the sword was located, it has been determined that it likely belonged to a woman who had a high place of standing in the community. A Dutch icon has been found in the city of Alkmaar in a rare find of a wooden clog. Archaeological excavations have so far only located 44 other similar shoes within the Netherlands and Belgium, even though they are such an iconic part of the culture. It is also the only one so far that is made of birch, which is not common to the area and does not grow within the Netherlands. This artifact was located in a cesspit that was found during preparation for an underground waste container. Each piece was gathered and cleaned, with the wood being preserved due to the conditions of the cesspit, even though it had been broken into several pieces. Once cleaned, it was pieced back together and produces a size 5.5 women's shoe that was worn regularly, rather than for special occasions only. The sturdy heel, rather than a delicate one, indicates the daily wear, and as the traditional shoe, there were often different versions for different purposes. They provided protection from the elements and the sole of the foot, while also remaining comfortable, and they wore down slowly, compared to some other shoe types. In the city of Leuven and under the popular Brusselstraat, a wooden Roman water pipe was found during preparation for construction. It was surprisingly well preserved when compared to similar finds in other cities, and measured between 65 and 100 feet long, with potential for further pieces to be found. It was located about 13 feet below the surface, and dated to between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD. To obtain a more accurate date, the rings of the tree that was used to create the pipe will be used. Locating a sophisticated water system, shows how advanced the community was during their time there, and how prosperous the city was. Water systems such as these are both expensive to install and require advanced knowledge of technology. A Scottish university was the unknown home of an artifact from the Great Pyramid, as it rested in a cigar box for the last 70 years. Fragments of cedar wood were taken from an excavation in 1872 at the Great Pyramid of Giza. Removed from the Queen's Chamber, the wood is believed to have been used during the construction of the pyramid and has been dated to between 3341 and 3094 BC. As they are dated to before the pyramid was completed, by around 500 years, it is believed they were part of the beginning of the build. A curator assistant found the cigar box when going through some other items and knew they had been missing, so knew immediately what they were when she opened the box. They have now been returned to proper storage and are appropriately cared for. While excavating the tomb of Liu He in Nanjing, China, a large amount of armor was found. Over 6,000 fish-scale armor pieces were in the armory room that was part of the outer chamber of the tomb. Piled along with swords, they were at risk from rising waters, so the entire pile was removed at once with the soil that it rested on. During 2 full years of separating the mound, they found almost 7,000 individual armor scales, which would have been held together on a cloth or leather backing to create the piece of armor that was necessary. Likely they were stored in lacquer boxes, which dissolved. This find is also different from others in that other armor pieces that were found would all be made of the same material, with this recent discovery being made from multiple different materials, including lacquered iron, copper, and leather. Westminster Abbey has been a strong part of history since it was built, and it continues to be the home of many artifacts, both cultural and religious. A bag was found attached to documents that appears to be a seal bag. These were used to carry the seals that would be attached to a document, and this one was made from material that matches the burial shroud of Charlemagne. When he was prepared for burial in 814, his first shroud was used, while this one was the one chosen during reinterment to the Karlsruhe. It is in this ornate shrine that he was moved to in 1215. The same material was used again to protect the wax seal of King Henry III when it was used on a document about the Westminster Abbey Shrine of Edward the Confessor. Seal bags protect the seals on documents, as the seals are used for authentication and to confirm those involved with the documents. While originally used to confirm the signers of the documents, they also became key to protecting the artifacts and preserving these moments in history. Use of matching cloths indicate they were each made by the same person, though it is very unlikely they would all be from the same piece of cloth. Each was woven by hand, and the same weaver would be used with the same loom to create the matching pattern, and several pieces would have been used. A bog in Denmark has revealed a cache of artifacts that were created during the transition from the Late Bronze Age to the Early Iron Age, roughly around 500 BC. Among the items found was a sword that had been bent in a ritual. Bent into an S-curve, the bronze sword had iron rivets in the handle. The sword is the biggest of the artifact found at that time. It appears that the sword was sacrificed in a ritual that saw it bent, so it would not be able to be used as a weapon again, and it was then bent for a sacrifice. The intricate details would ensure that it remained valuable for sacrifice even after it was bent. It was located by a resident who was using their metal detector, and when they went back a few days later, they found an additional bronze necklace. With the original find, along with the sword, were some ankle bangles or vole rings, a piece of large fibula, 2 bronze axes, and one other yet unidentified object. The bog in which they were found is located northwest of Copenhagen, near the town of Växjö, And with 2 areas that resulted in relics, there will be more excavations to look for additional locations. As collections of Viking artifacts grow, a recent find of a pommel cap in the Netherlands was the first to ever be found in the region. Found in May 2024 by a citizen with a metal detector, it was near the surface of the soil, at only 8 inches below the surface. It was found to be made of copper alloy, and evidence of being gilded remained across the surface. Decorations carved into it include wild boar heads and intricate designs. Boars are believed to represent strength and courage, combat, and protection. It has 1 large centerpiece and 2 smaller peaks on each side, that rounded at the top and taper at the bottom. The sword that it fits upon was not found, but the hilt was dated to the 10th century AD. This discovery is showing more contact between Frisia and the Vikings, where and when they were present in Scandinavia and the British Isles, and is a step towards learning how they interacted. Viking ships are also a common place to find incredible ancient artifacts, especially as they are a rare find on their own. But a message from a past archaeologist is a one-time experience. Anders Lorange of the Bergen Museum excavated this, the largest Viking ship that had been found, and left a message in a bottle when they were finished. The ship itself was found at what was once the estate of a Viking king in the 9th century, Myklebust. Located in western Norway, it was the vessel of burial for King Oddbjorn Froybjornsson, who lost his last battle in 1870 and had a traditional ship burial. While the ship was burned during the burial, the remains were buried. Left behind was a 100-foot-long mound, standing 13 feet high, and ashes, rivets, and pieces of shields. When the Bergen Museum excavation was completed, the archaeologist wrote a note with his name, date, and what was found, which he then put into a glass bottle with a business card and some coins. Other similar finds show he made a habit of leaving these notes to future adventurers in several of his digs, reaching to the future in a way that we reach into the past. A playground in Germany was discovered to have been built over a military camp when pieces of a game, ovens, pieces of marching boots, and parts of the surrounding wall were found. The playground is currently in construction, and the digging to lay the bases became an archaeological excavation to remove these artifacts before continuing. Dating has been determined to be 2,000 years old, and records that there was a military base in the area that was occupied until 16 AD, confirming the relics belonged to the military. Both excavation of the ancient site and construction of the playground are ongoing simultaneously. Kilwa is located in what is now Tanzania, and it has a long history of managing trade routes and the prosperity that comes with being a major trading hub. Traders came from as far as China with gold, ivory, and iron. Arabian pottery and Indian textiles passed through, as well as perfumes, porcelain, and spices that came from the Far East, making the post the cornerstone of trade in East Africa. Early in the 1500s, the city was overtaken and began a quick decline, becoming deserted in the 19th century. Recently, an old discovery of 9 copper coins from a beach on the Wessel Islands was recovered after being taken in 1979. Of the 9 coins, 4 are from the Dutch East India Company during the 17th century, and the remaining 5 are from Kilwa itself, and are suspected to be from the 1100s. These are some of the first to be found outside of the city itself, and suggests that Australia was also trading through Kilwa during that time, or that they came to be on the beach due to shipwreck. Italy has long been known as an expert in glassmaking and glass blowing, and now a late Bronze Age find is demonstrating just how long the trade has been present. Both a glass-making furnace and thousands of multicolored beads were found in northern Italy at the Fratessinia dig site. All were dated to 3,000 years ago and is now the oldest evidence of glass making in Europe. The settlement was a major trading hub beginning in the 12th century BC. Excavations have unearthed many types of imported materials as well, including alpine copper, Baltic amber, elephant ivory from northern Africa, ostrich eggs, Cornish tin, bronze, and items already made, including bone carvings, ceramics, and items cast in bronze. Each of these items is one more piece building an image of the diverse economy and strong trading that occurred within the city. Within the buildings of the city, it has been found that many were businesses on the ground floor with residences above, creating a strong manufacturing and business center. An excavation in Qifang, China, has found an incredible jade dragon. It is, so far, the largest jade dragon from the Neolithic Hongshan culture. The dragon is in 3 parts and spans 6.2 inches by 3.7 inches by 1.2 inches, and it was dated to around 5,100 years ago. Looters had begun to enter the Yuanbaoshan Stone Mount tomb, and this led to an excavation effort to protect the artifacts that are inside and discourage people from entering the area. This tomb is a circular tomb that is built up not only with soil, but with stone, and is the largest of the culture to be found, reaching 77 feet in diameter and 6.5 feet high. It also included not only a funerary structure, but also housed a sacrificial altar, which was the first of its kind to do so. Other artifacts included painted pottery basins, tripod pottery cups, and other jade objects. Mozart has become a household name, with over 600 works composed that are still widely used today. During the research and compilation of a new Köchel, including all of his works, a previously unknown transcription of a composition was found. There's been a copy of this compilation in circulation for 160 years, yet this particular piece has never been seen or included. The manuscript dates to the late 1760s, and while not in his hand, it is ascribed to Wolfgang Mozart. It is believed that this is one of the many unknown works that his father kept a list of that were written but never published or shared. This newly found composition varies from his focus on piano and includes a string trio, offering a deeper look at the full body of work and showing a new side to his works. If the dates are correct, it was written during his teen years, directly after a tour that was several years long. Cosmetics are one of the aspects of history that is continuing to bring new surprises, with both how common it was and how long ago they were developed. A recent stone pencil found at the Yesilova Mound along the coast of Turkey is evidence of kohl eyeliner from 8,200 years ago. Before eyeliner pencils were created, it was applied with a stone, carved into a cylinder that tapers to a point at one end, this one being 3.7 inches long. Eyeliner was kept in a small pot, and the stone pencil would be dipped in the pot and then applied to the eye. Residue was found on the end of the pencil, which provides insight into what was used at the time. This particular mixture contained manganese oxide, which was a very popular choice, while others have been found in areas in Syria, Iran, and Turkey. The oldest before this one was dated to 4,000 years ago. A find in southwestern Turkey has offered insight into the glass making in the 5th century Myra, Italy. A set of glass plates was found. They are 4-inch squares, and around 30 of them were found and put together from the pieces that were found. Hundreds of pieces remain that will continue to be pieced together as well as possible, recreating the original glass by matching the pieces into the design for each plate. Made using the millefiori technique, which translates to 1,000 flowers, and involves layers of tiny glass in different colors that are used to create patterns, flowers, or geometric shapes, and then fused together. Glass with this technique has been found across the Roman Empire, but this is the first evidence of it being found in Turkey. It was a popular technique from the 1st century and continues even today. As some archaeological digs are opening up to volunteers, there is a growing chance for volunteers to find priceless artifacts and make their mark on the excavation. This is exactly what happened in Burghead, northeastern Scotland, at the Pictish Fort. After finding several small rocks and other items, a volunteer stumbled upon a 1,000-year-old ring. The ring is a diamond shape and has a small round gem, which is suspected to be garnet or red glass. This was at the largest of the known Pictish towns and was active between the 4th and 9th centuries. While a few other artifacts were found, but much of the building itself was dismantled and used when building Burghead. It is believed that most of the fort was excavated during the demolition, and that many of the artifacts and items within the city were used or dispersed. At another archaeological dig site in Turkey, the ancient city of Metropolis has unearthed thousands of pieces of bronze statues. Once the scrapyard was located, an excavation of it was launched, and it held many rewards for those who are doing the dig. Over 2,000 small fragments and broken pieces of bronze were found, and they were determined to be parts of various statues. The pieces dated back to the Hellenistic period through to the Roman imperial period, which ran from the 3rd century BC to the 4th century AD. Prosperity from the trade route allowed the city to continue to grow and brought luxury to many of the citizens and businesses. It is believed, but not yet confirmed, that the statues were from before Christianity became the dominant religion, and that they were symbols from the polytheistic religions which were destroyed as Christianity took hold. This would explain why the bronze remained in pieces, rather than not be melted and reused or sold, during a time when it would have had great value. In 2009, one of the most significant finds of the time was made when the Magdala Stone was located in Israel. Found near the Sea of Galilee during preparation for the construction of a Catholic retreat, and this discovery has ties to both the Christian and Jewish communities, bringing them together in the care and viewing of the artifact. It was discovered in a synagogue dated to the 1st century, within the town that it is believed Mary Magdalene made her home, and where Jesus may have visited her and even been within the synagogue itself. One of the earliest depictions of the Second Temple is found on the stone, and it holds the most symbols of the temple within one object. One side of the stone has images of the side of the building, including the archways, and it was carved in such a way to stand out, with the back of the stone depicting a pillared structure and representation of fire. A menorah carved into the stone is believed to be of the 7-branched menorah in the Second Temple, and would be the oldest known carving to reference the temple. This incredible ancient artifact will be on display for the first time, along with 130 other pieces to share the story of the menorah in an event supported by both the Christian and Jewish church. A Mongolian armada that had attempted to invade Japan at some point between 1274 and 1281 has left behind an anchor off the coast of Takashima Island. It laid on the sea floor, 65 feet below the surface, until excavation efforts began. The anchor itself is 5.5 feet long, made of wood and stone, and is planned to be floated to the surface with a balloon. Once retrieved, it is expected to be cleaned and studied to gather more information about the time period. Without a full boat to excavate, this piece is key to learning about the boating practices then, and where the anchor originated, what building materials were in use, and more. Current estimates are that there were 4,400 ships involved in the attempted invasion, and several of those are believed to have been sunk due to wind and weather before they even landed. For decades, there have been several searches to find some of the ships off the coast, which would help to determine if they were in fact ships taken from the Nansong dynasty from China, or if they are Mongolian ships. One ship was found in 2011, and it was then declared a historical site, and plans began for the excavation. Ancient Celtic coins found in Brandenburg, Germany, have provided new details about travel, trade, and business over 2,000 years ago. 41 gold coins were in the stash, the second largest found. They were shown to be the coins that were called rainbow cups, as they reflected the rain on the fields in such a way that they created a rainbow. This effect occurs as the coins are shaped as cups, rather than the flat coins that we see today. Most commonly found in the area they were made, Central Europe, they would reflect a rainbow from where they laid in a field and were easily noticed by farmers who went to work the field. Some historians believe this term was also a reference to coins or treasure at the end of every rainbow, as they were said to be found only where a rainbow touched the ground. Another belief was held by others who suggested that they had fallen from the sky, and therefore bring luck, and have a healing effect on those who find them. These are the oldest known coins of the type to be found in Brandenburg, where Celtic treasure is both rare and unexpected. As the Celts were never known to live in the area but remained in southern, central, and western Europe only, these coins likely traveled to the location they were found through a trade system, which extended across Europe during the Iron Age. Information from these coins that add to what is already known about the trade routes is invaluable, and shows cooperation between civilizations that were both more organized and more extensive than was first thought. All of the 41 coins have been determined to have been minted between 125 BC and 30 BC, and are made with bronze, silver, and copper, as some of the bronze appeared to be a coating over a layer of gold, which could have been used to copy and pass as the real coins. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the ancient world's greatest works of literature. It's an epic poem written in Mesopotamia somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 years ago, and is regarded as the oldest surviving poem and the second oldest religious text in the world. In the past, the problem with the text is that we didn't have every line of it, and we didn't know the chapter order. We do now. This recently discovered clay tablet, which was found hiding away in Iraq's Suleymaniye Museum, has given us the correct chapter order and also extended the poem by a further 20 lines. The person who sold it to the museum had no idea how valuable it was and was happy to receive only $800 in return. It's a piece of Tablet 5 of the standard Babylonian epic version of the poem. Thanks to the new lines, we now know that Gilgamesh and his friend met a monkey on their travels, and also how he and Enkidu defeated Humbaba, the demigod of the forest. You probably need to read the poem to get the full context here, so we recommend that you do. We're off to Syria now to take a closer look at this ancient ritual wand, which has 2 human faces etched into its surface. According to the archaeologists responsible for the discovery, this auric bone artifact is an incredible 9,000 years old. Somewhat chillingly, it was found at the edge of a graveyard where 30 people had been laid to rest, minus their heads. The heads were eventually found in a nearby pit. This is one of the earliest naturalistic depictions of human faces ever found. The best guess of experts is that it was used in some kind of funerary rite. Further evidence obtained from the surrounding area suggests that the former occupants of the land were among the first people in the world to practice farming. Sadly, we have no idea who these people were. We don't even have a name for them. The wand should perhaps more accurately be called a staff, as it appears to have been broken at both ends and was once probably much longer than it is now. The symbolic meaning of the faces is unknown, but is presumably connected to the removal of the real heads of the people buried here. We've all experienced postal delays before, but this is ridiculous. A collection of undelivered 17th century post has recently been discovered in the Museum voor Communicatie in The Hague, Netherlands. Prior to historian Rebecca Arendt of Yale University opening it, it's thought the waterproofed sealskin trunk hadn't been opened since 1926. Within the trunk are more than 2,600 letters posted by people in the Netherlands, Spain, and France between 1689 and 1707. In most cases, they ended up in the trunk either because the recipient couldn't be located or they refused to accept the letter. Back in those days, paying for postage was the responsibility of the recipient rather than the sender. The letters come from people of all walks of life, including actors and singers, peasants, noblemen, aristocrats, and even a few spies. One of them, addressed to a wealthy merchant based in The Hague, appears to imply that one of his lovers is pregnant and needs financial aid without coming out and saying it. The letters are invaluable because they're written in the local dialects and colloquial grammar of the everyday people of the time, rather than the clipped, refined tone we've come to expect from official records and educated individuals. In mid-2016, archaeologists in the United Kingdom were busy excavating an early Mesolithic site in Yorkshire known as Star Carr. Among the many items they found was this shale pendant. It might not look like much at first glance, but on closer inspection, it's an 11,000-year-old work of art. The pendant is covered with carefully incised lines and a smooth hole that appears to have been made with some kind of drill. This is the only engraved shale pendant ever to be found in Europe. The meaning of the carefully angled lines on the pendant is unknown, but it's been seen before on other artifacts from the same era and is known as barred lines type C. Other pendants from this era have been found in the past, but they're all made from bone, amber, or antler. We don't know whether this one was made of shale because it's special or simply because other materials weren't available. The latest theory is that the lines somehow represent the number or type of kills made by a hunter, who would have worn the pendant around their neck at all times so they could keep it updated. That's one way of keeping score. Fruit crops are plentiful in the Iberian Peninsula. But when did the practice of cultivating fruit in the region begin? Well, according to Guillem Perez Yorda and Salvador Pardo Gordo from the University of Valencia, the answer to that question is about 3,000 years ago. They've reached that conclusion by studying archaeobotanical remains in the area. There was a sudden and rapid economic and social development in and around Valencia around 3,000 years ago, and it looks like learning to cultivate fruit crops was part of that success. Among the items on the menu were grapes, pomegranates, and olives. We know what you're thinking, but yes, olives really are fruit. The presence of these ancient fruit remains implies a leap forward in the technology that farmers had about their land. Prior to this, they either grew plants with a predictable annual cycle or crops that grew almost immediately, mostly cereals and legumes. These fruit crops would have taken several years to grow, which necessitates permanent or semi-permanent ownership of the land. If you could grow fruit, you could make wine. So this is where the Iberian wine industry came from. If you lived in ancient times in a city that was unfortunate enough to be attacked by the Romans, you wouldn't just see them coming, you'd also hear them. The Roman army used special military trumpets, both as a way of intimidating the enemy and also sending coded instructions from one end of a battlefield to the other. This Gallo-Roman trumpet, discovered in April 2021 at the Roman Forum in Beauvais, France, is one of the finest examples of such a trumpet ever to be discovered. It took some time to identify the artifact, as it had been completely dismantled into a series of copper alloy tubes and then buried deliberately. Archaeologists have since carefully pieced it back together and identified it as a relic of the 3rd century. The instrument is surprisingly long, measuring almost 6 feet from one end to the other, and would have made a fairly crude noise because it doesn't have any holes or valves. While burying a trumpet might sound like an odd thing to do, the trumpets weren't exclusively used in battles. They were also used during funeral ceremonies, so this one might have ended up buried as an act of dedication or tribute. There are many fascinating exhibits at the Lamia Archaeological Museum in Greece, But the one that's been getting the most attention recently is this 2,600-year-old wine cup. For the longest time, historians believed that the paintings on its surface were nothing more than a random collection of animals. Now, they have a new theory. They think that this ceramic cup, known correctly as a skyphos, might be covered in symbolic representations of the constellations. If they're right, they will become the oldest known Greek depictions of the shapes they saw in the night sky. It might also imply that some other ancient Greek artifacts are also encoded with astronomical information. John Barnes of the University of Missouri believes that the dog, snake, and rabbit shown on the skyphos are especially likely to be constellations because of their unusual positioning, which doesn't seem right for a hunting scene. He's identified the snake as Hydra, and also thinks a bull might be Taurus. He's got some work to do to convince his peers that he's right about his interpretation, but there's an undeniable correlation between the animals and the positions of the stars he thinks they represent. There's an undersea tunnel project happening in southern Denmark right now, but before the tunnel is dug, archaeologists have been given the opportunity to scour the earmarked sites for items of value. The most significant thing they've found so far is this incredible stone axe. What's incredible about it isn't the fact that it's an axe, but the fact that the wooden handle is still completely intact, despite the artifact being an estimated 5,500 years old. It survived the passage of time so well because it's been embedded in a thick layer of clay. Experts think the axe was left here deliberately as part of ritual activity during the Stone Age. Back then, this area would have been at the edge of the sea. While the axe has commanded the most attention, the same team responsible for this find has also turned up 2 bows, a paddle, and the oldest set of Stone Age footprints ever to be found in Denmark. They're now carefully removing all of their discoveries from the area for preservation, so the tunnel can be finished. Zurich's Opera House is an impressive sight in Switzerland's largest city. Beneath the Opera House is an underground garage, and beneath that are the remains of ancient opium poppy fields. The seeds of those poppies were analyzed by Swiss scientists in early 2021, leading to the conclusion that the prehistoric farmers of the Alps were among the first people in the world to domesticate the opium poppy. That doesn't necessarily mean they were consuming opiates, though. Poppies can also be used as food and have medicinal properties. The seeds of the plants were probably used to make a type of porridge around 7,500 years ago. While the difference between domestic and wild poppies would be impossible to discern for the average person, scientists can tell them apart by analyzing the number of cells and the size and shape of the seeds. That contour analysis process has shown that 87% of the poppy seeds in the vicinity of the Opera House were of the domestic variety. While they would undoubtedly have been viewed as a form of nourishment first and foremost, we can't rule out that these ancient farmers were also aware of their more exotic uses. After all, our ancestors were rather fond of getting high. Let's move from Switzerland back to Denmark and talk about this ancient bronze figure. It was found on the Danish island of Falster in early 2015. The unusual-looking sculpture represents Silenus, a mythological Roman figure said to have been the tutor and mentor of Bacchus, the Roman wine god. It's around 2,000 years old, and its discovery in Danish territory is unusual. It might indicate that there was more contact between Scandinavia and the Roman Empire during the 1st century than historians currently believe. The figure is tiny, barely 2 inches tall, but has a remarkable amount of detail for something so small. It was found by an amateur archaeologist using a metal detector, who then handed it over to Denmark's National Museum. Back when it was made, Augustus was still serving as the first emperor of Rome. He's often depicted as being drunk in Roman mythology, which might explain his strange facial expression in this mini-statue. The figurine was probably once attached to the headrest, an ancient Roman couch-like piece of furniture on which people would lay down to eat and drink. The Romans took their wine drinking very seriously. Polo is often thought of as a sport of the European aristocracy, It predates the earliest European monarchies, though, and wasn't even invented in Europe. Thanks to this discovery from May 2015, we can say with certainty that polo was a Chinese invention. Even prior to the finding of this polo stick and balls, historians believed that polo was invented in Persia 2,600 years ago. However, these artifacts are closer to 2,800 years old. The 3 balls and 8 long-handled sticks were found in the Yanghai tombs of Turpan. There's no mention of polo in Chinese historical records until the Han Dynasty of 2,200 years ago, but these objects prove that people played the sport much earlier, even if they didn't write about it or draw pictures of it. It makes sense that the sport would have developed here. The people who lived here belonged to the Shubeishi culture, nomadic tribes who lived in and around the steppes and deserts of Central Asia. They would have needed to be superb horse riders to survive in this region. If you can ride a horse, you can play polo. We might never get done looking for ancient artifacts in Egypt. It seems that the more you look, the more you find. Here's an ancient Egyptian artifact that's so delicate, it seems impossible that it's survived for as long as it has. This tiny scrap of cloth, discovered by Polish archaeologists in western Thebes in 2015, was gifted to an Egyptian temple by the father of the legendary Egyptian ruler, Queen Cleopatra VII. That makes it a little over 2,000 years old. To afford him the proper respect, we should name him as the Pharaoh Ptolemy XII Auletes. The scrap of linen bears printed ink hieroglyphics bearing the name of the pharaoh. For some reason, the name of the goddess Isis was added to the cloth around 300 years later. It's thought that the linen is a small piece of vellum, a kind of ceremonial curtain that would have been used to cover a holy image, perhaps a statue of a god. If the pharaoh saw fit to gift this to the temple, he was probably involved in its construction. Fabrics like this almost never survive for thousands of years, so this is a really lucky find. There's an ancient mummy in China that has absolutely no business being in China. He's known to us as Churchin Man, and his remains were found in the Taklamakan Desert. The desert's name, when translated into English, means, "You enter, but you never leave." That seems to have been true of Churchin Man. There would be no mystery here if this man were an ancient Chinese person who'd perished in the desert because of exposure. But he isn't. He looks very much like a Bronze Age European, and that's exactly what he is. His DNA confirms that he's of Celtic origin. He was found with 3 women and a baby, and all of those bodies are of Celtic origin too. The desert is thousands of miles east of the easternmost known ancient Celtic settlement, so we have no idea how he and the women and child who presumably made up his family got here. Obviously, they must have traveled from Europe, but did they come alone? If they didn't, were there more Celtic people in China during the Bronze Age? How could that be possible when no other trace of them has ever been found? Tazamal is an intriguing archaeological site that can be found in Chalchuapa, El Salvador. This ancient Mayan city offers a captivating glimpse into the rich history and cultural heritage of the region. At the heart of Tazumal stands a remarkable pyramidal structure known as Structure B1-1. This impressive temple, reaching a height of approximately 70 feet, features intricate architectural details and striking stone carvings. Exploring the site, visitors can also discover the intricately decorated ball court, ceremonial plazas, and residential complexes that once flourished with life, demonstrating that these ancient people lived in a city rich with culture. Artifacts found at Tazumal provide insights into the daily lives and religious practices of the Mayan people who inhabited the city. The site's museum displays a collection of pottery, jade ornaments, and obsidian tools, shedding light on the craftsmanship and artistic prowess of the ancient Mayans. Tazumal is not only a historical treasure, but also a testament to the remarkable engineering and cultural achievements of the Mayan civilization, inviting visitors to immerse themselves in the mysteries of this ancient world. Life here began around 1,800 years ago and continued until the early 13th century. The rock paintings of Sierra de San Francisco are an awe-inspiring display of prehistoric artistry etched into the rugged canyons and cliffs of the Baja California Peninsula in Mexico. These remarkable rock paintings, dating back thousands of years, offer a glimpse into the rich cultural heritage of the indigenous peoples who once inhabited this region. Depicting a wide range of subjects, from human figures engraved in daily activities to animals, plants, and intricate geometric patterns, the paintings captivate visitors with their vivid colors and intricate details. The sheer scale of the site is astounding, with over 250 rock shelters and approximately 4,500 individual panels discovered so far. What makes these paintings even more remarkable is the challenging terrain they were created in, showcasing the ingenuity and artistic skill of their creators. The natural pigments used to bring these ancient murals to life have endured the test of time, speaking volumes about the cultural significance and craftsmanship of the people who left their mark on these rocky canvases. Today, the rock paintings of Sierra de San Francisco stand as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, inviting visitors to immerse themselves in the captivating beauty and mystery of this ancient art form. There's a new housing development planned for an ancient district of Jinan, China. Ahead of the planned development, archaeologists have been given an opportunity to come in and conduct exploratory digs in the area to ensure that nothing of importance is lost. It's a good job they were called. In July 2022, they announced the discovery of a set of Yuan Dynasty tombs that come complete with incredible, brightly colored brick murals. The tombs were created during the mid-13th century. It appears that this was a large-scale cemetery, and although the tombs were built during that century, they continued to be used for hundreds of years after that. Written inscriptions found inside the tombs state that they were originally built for the Guo family, although their use expanded beyond the family over time. The quality of the craftsmanship at the site is outstanding, especially when you consider that the people who carried out the work used nothing more advanced than wooden hammers and chisels. This is the largest cluster of Yuan Dynasty tombs ever discovered in the country, and may yet have more secrets to reveal as the archaeologists continue their work. Almost hidden along the Las Piletas River in Nayarit, Mexico, lies a fascinating collection of stone carvings known as the Alta Vista Petroglyph Complex. These enigmatic petroglyphs depict various symbolic images, including a man with a corn head, swirling vortices, and a weeping face. Thought to have been created by the Tecoquines, also known as the throat cutters, thousands of years ago, these petroglyphs hold deep cultural and spiritual significance. The site is adorned with offerings and votive contributions left by the Huichol people, who continue to revere this sacred space. The petroglyphs are a testament to the Tecoquines' attempts to connect with the supernatural energy governing the seasons and their livelihoods. With over 50 known petroglyphs, the most striking include the Maize Man, symbolizing the importance of corn cultivation, the vortices representing cosmic energy, and the stone face symbolizing the weeping god Tlaloc and the life-giving rains. These powerful images of corn, sun, and water, immortalized in stone, continue to inspire reverence among visitors to the Alta Vista Petroglyph Complex, honoring the deep connection between humans and the natural world, both in the past and present. During the extensive 2022 excavations in the ancient city of Prushas ad Hippium, located in the province of Dusha in northwestern Turkey, archaeologists made a remarkable discovery: a marble block depicting the mythological story of Actaeon. He was a legendary Theban huntsman hero in Greek mythology, but met a tragic fate when he accidentally stumbled upon the goddess Artemis bathing and was subsequently transformed into a stag. In a cruel twist of fate, Actaeon was hunted down and torn apart by his own loyal hounds. Found within the theater of the ancient city, the marble block is adorned with intricate plant motifs, serving as a backdrop for the scene depicting Actaeon's ill-fated encounter with Artemis. This discovery adds another fascinating layer to the ongoing excavations in Prushas ad Hippium, which aim to unravel the history of the region dating back to the 3rd century BCE. In addition to the Actaeon block, the excavation team has also uncovered other noteworthy artifacts. Among them are superstructure blocks featuring masks associated with tragedy, comedy, and drama, reminiscent of similar findings in the area. Encouraged by these finds, there are still archaeologists working through the site today. Watson Brake in Louisiana, USA might not have the aesthetic qualities of the pyramids or Stonehenge, but it's a lot older. Hunter-gatherers were building mounds and making earthenware here more than 5,000 years ago. Scientists almost didn't want to accept the age of the site after it was confirmed by new tests in 1997. It forced them to rip up what they thought they knew about the sophistication of the people living in North America during this period of history. We used to think that hunter-gatherers moved on frequently, but Watson Brake and its mounds were lived in and reshaped over a period of several centuries. Whoever first came here decided to settle down, and they stayed for the long haul. The site is surrounded by 11 mounds, each of which is over 25 feet high and presumably used for defensive purposes. These pre-agricultural people were builders and innovators. Analysis of the gravel shows that it was once heated, presumably for cooking purposes. Some of the curiously shaped earthenware must have had functions beyond our understanding, or perhaps they were merely novelty decorations. Archaeologists excavating the Castillo de Matilla de los Caños del Rio near Salamanca, Spain, made an intriguing discovery in May 2023, an intact suit of armor from the 16th century. The castle, previously thought to have been built after the Arab conquest, has a mysterious history, with few verifiable facts known about it. However, the ongoing excavations have contradicted the historical narrative, as no evidence of Arab occupation or related architectural features has been found. The team has uncovered the castle's layout, including its interior and exterior walls, and identified various structures like circular towers and an armor room containing weapons and armor fragments. The complete suit of armor found is a remarkable find, comprising approximately 50 pieces. It includes a helmet, breastplate, trellis, elbow pads, greaves, and other protective components for the arms and legs. Excavations have also revealed crossbow bolts designed to penetrate armor, spike points for chainmail, and stone cannonballs known as stone shot, or bolaño. These findings shed light on the military equipment and armaments used during the castle's existence. Even with this discovery, though, we now know less about the castle than we did before it was made. You'll find the Labyrinthen vid Tibble in Håkansson Badalunda, Sweden. The stone maze is around 2,000 years old, which comfortably makes it one of the oldest in the whole country. Nobody knows why it was created or who by. Håkansson Badalunda is in the Anundskog region of Sweden, which is already well known for being rich in Viking-era artifacts, and so is a common hunting ground for archaeologists. But this labyrinth goes back way further than the Viking era. It's a particular style of maze known as a Trojaborg, and it's not a purely Swedish phenomenon. Other mazes of this design have been found elsewhere in Europe, most notably at ancient sites in England. The existence of the same design in so many places suggests a commonality of culture across Europe 2,000 years ago, one that's not recorded in history books. One theory about the purpose of the maze is that as part of pagan spring rites, a girl would be placed at the center of the maze, and then a boy was sent in to rescue her but wasn't allowed to touch the stones. If he did so, he had to leave the maze, and another boy would get the chance to go in his place. We have no idea where that theory comes from, but it's old. We haven't been to England yet during this video, so let's change that and talk about the Corbridge Hoard. This treasure collection is made from iron rather than gold, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. The Corbridge Hoard was discovered in 1964 within the ruins of the Roman town of Coria, which is now part of Corbridge in Northumberland. This part of the United Kingdom has proved to be a rich hunting ground for archaeologists over the years, as an enormous collection of gold coins was found in the same area in 1911. The collection of iron goods was found in the remains of a 2nd century administrative building. They'd been placed in an iron-bound, leather-coated chest and buried deliberately for unknown reasons. The hoard's discovery was especially important because it contributed greatly to our understanding of segmented armor. The chest contained 6 full suits of lorica segmentata armor of the kind that the soldiers of the Roman Empire wore. Historians had always known the armor existed before this discovery, but they never understood how it fit together. The Corbridge hoard answered all of their questions. We're off to Bulgaria now, which is where these 5 ancient mirror frames were found in interesting circumstances in Pavlikeni in early 2018. The frames were found inside the remains of what's thought to be an ancient ceramics factory, which, in turn, is within the remains of a Roman villa. The villa is thought to have belonged to a veteran of the Roman military, so it's possible that he may also have been gifted a ceramics factory upon completion of his military service in recognition of his achievements. The factory, the villa, and the ornate mirror frames are thought to date back to the late 1st or early 2nd century. The glass that was presumably once inside the frames is long gone, but the frames have survived for this long because they're made of lead. In each case, they have identical decorations of large wine vessels with leaved vines emerging from them. This may have had personal significance for the villa's owner. 3 of the mirrors have the same inscription, which reads as "Good Luck," whereas the other 2 bear a message that's closer to "Good Soul." Perhaps the mirrors were also retirement gifts to the military veteran from grateful colleagues. When we think of people who lived thousands of years ago, we tend to imagine them either dressed in animal skins or, after that, wearing long flowing robes or tunics. It might, therefore, surprise you to hear that a pair of 3,000-year-old trousers were found in a Chinese grave in April 2014. The discovery at the Yanghai graveyard close to Tarim Basin proves that humans were wearing trousers in East Asia a full 1,000 years before Jesus Christ was born. It's likely that the people of this area invented the garment, probably because they were more comfortable and practical for riding horses, and also offered a better degree of protection for delicate areas during combat than robes would. The 5,300-year-old remains of Otzi the Iceman, who was found in the Alps between Italy and Austria in 1991, were discovered complete with trouser-like garments. But they were individual leggings rather than one complete garment. These trousers, made from a brown-colored woolen cloth, are much more akin to what we wear today. In fact, taking into account their decorative stitched design, they'd probably be considered quite fashionable. Worshipping the gods wasn't a simple matter of getting down on your knees and praying in the days of ancient Egypt. You needed special tools for the job. Tools like the ones that were found in the ancient city of Buto, Kafr el-Sheikh, in September 2021. Egyptologists believe that the strange-looking artifacts are connected with the ritual worship of the goddess Hathor. They include a small limestone pillar carved in the shape of Hathor, a vessel for holding sacred water, an offerings holder, and pieces of a set of gold scales that were probably used in gilding. The idea of ritual use is strengthened by the discovery of tin-glazed ceramic incense burners at the same site. The precise nature of the ceremony these tools were used in will probably never be known, but it's likely that they were part of a daily ritual for whomever they belonged to. Perhaps the most remarkable find at this old temple is a bathtub fitted with a basic plumbing system that allowed fresh water into the tub and poured out wastewater. Yes! You heard that correctly. Some Egyptians had running water 2,400 years ago. In September 2021, Turkish archaeologists found a mosaic so significant that they're claiming it as the ancestor of all other Mediterranean mosaics. That's a bold claim to make, so let's check it out. This careful arrangement of more than 3,000 stones was found in the remains of a 3,500-year-old Hittite temple in Usakli Hoyuk. The stones have lost some of their colors over time, but they would originally be black, red, and beige shades, arranged in curved and triangular formations, thus creating the mosaic. It's about 700 years older than the oldest known floor or wall mosaic in Greece. The remains of a palace at the same site mean that this has become a candidate for the location of the long-lost city of Zipalanda. The city's name appears on many ancient Hittite tablets and was known as a place where people came to worship the Hittite storm god, but its precise location has always remained a mystery. Perhaps it's a mystery no longer. The new mystery is what inspired an ancient artist to create this mosaic pattern when they'd presumably never seen anything like it before. Peruvian gas pipe workers got more than they bargained for in September 2021 when they accidentally broke open an 800-year-old tomb and found that it still contained the remains of 8 people. The tomb is thought to be a Chilca culture burial. They laid their people to rest surrounded by food and their distinctive musical instruments, which helped in identifying who was responsible for creating the tomb. The semi-mummified bodies are still wrapped in the same plant material cloth they were buried in. Around them were plates full of corn, flutes, and other wind instruments. 2 of the bodies had decorative shells placed on their heads, which might have been indicative of their social standing or their role within the family if, as is presumed, this is a family tomb. Curiously, each of them also had a bag full of cocoa leaves on top of them. The Chilca chewed cocoa leaves as a stimulant, but the dead have little use for stimulants, which makes their appearance here quite odd. A further 30 bodies were found by the same gas company close to this spot in 2018, but there's no sign that there was ever a settlement here. Humans have accessorized their bodies with jewelry for thousands of years, and throughout that time, there have been many cases of fashion being placed ahead of practicality while accessorizing. It still happens today, but here's an example of it happening 2,900 years ago. In September 2021, archaeologists opened a grave at the Askis 17 burial ground in the Republic of Khakassia, Siberia. They found the remains of a woman buried with bronze jewelry so heavy that wearing it for any sustained period of time would have been painful. Her grave is only 30 inches deep, so it's incredibly fortunate that it's never been damaged by the extensive highway and railroad construction that's taken place here over the centuries. Whoever this woman was, she was buried with lavish and extensive grave goods, including the shoulder blade and leg of an as-yet unidentified large mammal. Other artifacts recovered include a bronze knife and a ceramic vessel with an ornamented rim. She probably belonged to the Karasuk culture. They were noted for their metalworking skill, hence the size and quality of all the jewelry. It's often said that human life began in Africa, and here's a little proof. It's a set of clothes-making tools made from animal bones, and at 120,000 years old, it's the oldest tool set of its kind ever to be discovered. The artifacts were found in Smuggler's Cave, 12 miles from the Moroccan capital of Rabat, in September 2021. An expert analysis of the tools has identified that they were artificially amended and shaped specifically so they could be used to make garments from fur and leather. Based on the age of other bone clothes-making tools that have been found in the past, it appears they remained the standard way of going about such tasks for more than 30,000 years. This is the latest in a series of incredible finds in the cave, which also features living spaces carved into the ground and perforated seashells that might have been used as ornaments. This isn't quite as significant as the discovery of a 1.3 million-year-old axe manufacturing site in July, but it at least gets us closer to the origin point of sewing. We've heard about archaeological artifacts turning up in all sorts of unusual places over the years, but this is a new one to us. In September 2021, butchers in Jackson, Mississippi, USA, carved into a 750-pound, 14-foot-long alligator that had been killed in Eagle Lake and were stunned to find 2 truly ancient Native American artifacts. One is a 3,700-year-old plummet stone, and the other is an 8,000-year-old atlatl dart point. The objects were in the alligator's stomach and mostly undamaged, which suggests the alligator had eaten them recently. This raises the possibility that there are several more ancient artifacts in the same part of the lake that the alligator perished in. Old dog tags have been found inside alligator stomachs in Mississippi before, but there's no recorded instance of anything like this happening in the past. The size of the dart point suggests that it was once attached to a heavy hunting spear, similar to a javelin, designed to be thrown rather than stabbed. The plummet stone would have been used in fishing. Experts aren't sure why there are 2 holes drilled into it, but it's been speculated that they might have been used to sharpen bone hooks. Turkey has been giving up almost as many fascinating artifacts as Egypt in recent times, and here's another incredible find. It's a badly broken statue of the former Roman Emperor Publius Aelius Traianus Hadrianus, better known to the world as Hadrian. The fragments, which fortunately include a complete head, were found in the ancient city of Alabanda in Aydin. Experts believe the marble sculpture to be approximately 1,900 years old. It's unlikely to have been made here and was instead brought to Aydin in the year 120. It would once have stood 8 feet tall, but only 6 chunks of it have been found thus far. We have the head and parts of the torso, but we're missing most of the limbs. The archaeologists think that this part of the old city was the Bouleuterion, a sort of senate house where all of the region's important political business would have been carried out. Hadrian visited Anatolia several times during his reign between the years 117 and 138, so the statue was probably made to mark one of his visits or symbolized his affection for the city. This next story concerns not the original discovery of some ancient artifacts, but rather their recovery from criminals. In January 2021, Serbian authorities intercepted a Serbian man driving a car with Romanian license plates at the Srpska-Srnja border crossing between the 2 countries. He claimed to be transporting goods from Ukraine, but when officials opened his truck, it was found to contain more than 2,000 ancient artifacts. The objects come from a variety of times and places covering the Byzantine era, the Bronze Age, and the Middle Ages, and include several rare Celtic and Slavic items. Within the enormous haul, there are axes, maces, spears, bracelets, brooches, pendants, rings, and farming tools. The smuggler claimed to know nothing about the origin of the haul, stating only that he'd been paid a fee to drive the truck and didn't know what was inside it. That means it's going to be hard to say where the goods came from or how long they've been missing. Putting a price on all of this would be nearly impossible, but it's safe to say we're talking about several $1 million worth of stolen goods. In 1802, a vessel called the Mentor sank close to the Greek island of Kythera. It was owned by Thomas Bruce, a Scottish nobleman, also known as the Earl of Elgin. It was he who controversially took the Elgin marbles from the Parthenon, and it was this vessel that carried them. The wreck was found in 2011, and it's been visited repeatedly by marine archaeologists ever since. In February 2021, they reported the recovery of a new collection of artifacts. The haul includes belt buckles, coins, earrings, chess pieces, and, most notably of all, a fine flintlock pistol. These objects were left behind when the Elgin marbles were retrieved and taken to England, where they remain today in the British Museum. The pistol is thought to have belonged to William Martin Leake, an artillery captain, diplomat, and antique expert who was aboard the vessel when it went down. A theodolite recovered as part of the same expedition is also thought to have belonged to him. There's still about 25% of the Mentor's hull intact at the bottom of the sea, so more artifacts might yet be found inside it. The discovery of the Gunul Stargazer isn't recent, but the decision by an American court that it can stay in the United States of America is. With that chapter of the artifact's history behind it, it would be nice to solve the mystery of what it's supposed to be and who made it. Most experts concur that the sculpture is about 6,000 years old. It's a female Anatolian idol made from marble, one of just 15 known to exist in the world. The recent history of the object is murky, But the most commonly believed version of events is that Michael Steinhardt illegally looted it from Turkey in 1993. The name Stargazer comes from its distinctive pose. Its eyes are facing the sky, looking up at the heavens. It might represent a goddess of abundance that was worshipped in some parts of Turkey during the Chalcolithic era, but that's just a theory. What makes it unique is the fact it's still in one piece. Every other figurine like this that's ever been discovered has come in pieces because they were broken as part of some kind of ritual activity. We may never know why this one escaped that fate. The discovery of Thonis Heraklion in 2000 was the first major archaeological event of the new millennium, but we are still in the early stages of finding out what's there. The whole city is underwater, which makes exploring it quite difficult. Nobody knows why the Egyptian-Greek port city sank, but the most popular theory is that it fell victim to a huge earthquake 2,200 years ago. In July 2021, divers from the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology discovered these incredibly well-preserved baskets of fruit inside a tumulus that was already around 200 years old when Thonis Heraklion sank. The baskets are too delicate to be opened, but scans and tests have revealed they're full of grape seeds and dome fruit. The reason they've been able to survive so well beneath the water is that when they were buried, they ended up underneath layers of burned material, thanks to a fire that was set atop them, probably on purpose as part of a burial ceremony. The tumulus was then sealed and stayed that way until the divers found it. Burying people with fruit and flowers is something we still do today, so this is a reminder that people who lived thousands of years ago may not have been all that different from us. There is no object as Australian as the boomerang. Boomerangs have become a symbol of the land down under and were being made and used by the original inhabitants of the land long before Europeans arrived there. The objects are best known for returning to their sender when they're thrown, but early boomerangs weren't always designed to do that. The 4 ancient boomerangs that were found in Kinipapa Creek in Inaminka, South Australia, are of the non-returning kind. The artifacts were discovered during 2 separate archaeological surveys in 2017 and 2018, but a full analysis of them wasn't completed until 2021. That analysis revealed that the boomerangs were carved during the 17th century and had uses other than hunting. They may still have been used as projectiles occasionally, but they also show signs of having been used in digging, fire management, and even as close-quarters combat weapons. Experts think that they were made by the native Yandruwanda people. The Yandruwanda culture was assimilated when Europeans colonized Australia, but their descendants still live in the area today and have taken possession of the boomerangs. Speaking of artifacts from the pre-European era of English-speaking countries, here's a 1,200-year-old canoe that was found in a lake in Wisconsin, USA in early November 2021. Water vessels like this are known as dugout canoes and are made from a single hollowed-out tree trunk. Archaeologists found it 30 feet beneath the surface of Lake Mendota. Based on its age, it's likely that the boat was made by the ancestors of the First Nations Ho-Chunk people. Archaeologists think that dugout canoes were the first types of watercraft ever developed by our ancient ancestors. This particular example is the oldest fully intact canoe of its kind ever found in Wisconsin. Taking it out of the water was a risk because of the threat of instant deterioration, but the vessel has now been coated with protective chemicals and will be coated with further chemicals for the next 3 years to stabilize it before it can be placed on public display. The Wisconsin Historical Society hopes to open a new museum in the area in 2026, and this canoe would make the perfect exhibit. Could you cure or prevent a hangover after drinking alcohol by wearing a ring? The suggestion sounds ridiculous, but the ancient occupants of Israel believed so. This stunning amethyst ring was found close to a Byzantine-era winery in October 2021, and archaeologists believed that it belonged to a wealthy individual who loved wine, but didn't enjoy the headaches that came the morning after drinking it. The artifact was found in Yavna near Tel Aviv and is at least 1,300 years old. It might even be as old as 1,700 years. Many near-supernatural qualities were associated with amethysts back then, including the idea that they prevented hangovers. The origins of this strange belief aren't known. We do know that it existed as long ago as 320 BCE, because the Greek poet Asclepiades of Samos wrote about it in his work. This is far from the first golden amethyst ring to be found in the area, but it's rare to find one with a stone of such size. It's probably fair to assume that whoever owned it wanted to show off their wealth and status, and the large amethyst was a way of doing so. A crayon was found in an ancient lake near Scarborough, England in January 2018. You might be thinking, so what? But this isn't the kind of crayon that you'd give to your children to draw pictures with. This crayon is 10,000 years old, and archaeologists say it was used to decorate animal skins. The lake is now covered in peat, which makes it easier for archaeologists to explore it. A red ochre crayon was found further along what would once have been the lake's shore. Ochre is a pigment made of sand and clay, and ochre pebbles can be scraped to produce a red powder that can then be turned into crayons. 30 deer antler headdresses were later found at the same site, all of which appear to have been painted with either this crayon or a crayon like it. Red ochre was an enormously important color to Mesolithic-era people, who used it to color everything from the walls of their caves to the bones of their dead. What we don't understand is why they did that, or what the significance of the color was. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that we'll ever get to the bottom of that mystery. Nobody knows exactly how long humans have enjoyed playing board games as a hobby, but it's safe to say it's been several thousand years. Here's an example of a board game from the medieval era. It was found in a hidden chamber underneath Vyborg Castle in Russia in 2018. The game is carved into a clay brick, and the best guess of experts who've had the chance to inspect it is that it's an early version of a strategy game called Nine Man's Morris. It's a little like checkers and was once popular all over the world. A collection of coins and other artifacts were found at the same time as the board game, but the game is easily the pick of the discoveries. Vyborg Castle itself is positioned on an islet close to Russia's border with Finland and has stood since the 13th century. Back when it was built, the islet belonged to Sweden. The castle has changed hands between Finland and Russia several times over the centuries and is open as a museum today. So it's a little odd that nobody seems to have noticed the hidden chamber before. When you were a very young child, you might have been given a rattle to play with as a toy. If you have children of your own, perhaps you've given them a rattle too. It might surprise you to learn that children have been playing with rattles for at least 4,000 years. We know that because a 4,000-year-old rattle was found during the excavation of a Bronze Age settlement in Novosibirsk, Siberia in October 2016. It's one of the oldest toys ever found by archaeologists, and the most amazing thing about it is that it still functions as a rattle. The toy is made of clay and seems to have been designed to look like a bear cub's head, with stones sealed inside the head to make the rattling sound. The artist who made it must have been proud of their work, because they appear to have signed it with a mysterious symbol carved into the clay with a bone while it was still wet. Times have changed a lot in the past few thousand years, but it appears that some of the tricks we use to entertain our children haven't changed at all. Writing almost certainly developed in the East before it developed in the West, but there are still plenty of ancient and mysterious examples of prehistoric writing in the Western Hemisphere. The oldest ever to be discovered in the Americas is on this 3,000-year-old tablet, which was found in the lowlands of Veracruz in Mexico in 1999. The symbols on the slab have never been translated, but the repeating pattern of them is a telltale sign that this is a form of written communication. It most likely comes from the Olmec culture, as they were close to their peak 3,000 years ago. Symbols have been found on other ancient Olmec artifacts in the past, but nothing quite so detailed or lengthy as this. They weren't even thought to have had a written language before the slab was found. We have no way of translating the script without finding more artifacts or something equivalent to the Rosetta Stone, and so far that hasn't happened. It could be anything, from a list of laws to a royal proclamation. Some of the symbols look a little like insects, ears of corn, and buildings, but that's about all that can be said of them. The Met Museum in New York City, USA, is lucky enough to have some of the world's most beautiful artifacts in its collection. One of them is an engraving of an oval rock crystal called The Last Kiss of Romeo and Juliet. If you think you've heard that name before elsewhere, it's because it's also the title of a painting by the Italian artist Francesco Hayez, which was completed in 1823. The engraved crystal was made by another Italian, Giovanni Beltrami, a year later, after he was commissioned to do so by the aristocrat Count Giovanni Battista Somariva. He also bought the painting, so something about this image must really have spoken to him. Beltrami was a favorite gem carver of Napoleon Bonaparte, so his services won't have come cheaply. But the quality of his work speaks for itself. The image is objectively stunning, but the painting it's based on is seen as especially important in Italy because it was created at the beginning of the country's Romantic era. Putting a value on this piece is difficult because of its uniqueness and pointless because the Met is never going to let it go anyway. While we're checking out the Met Museum's collection of wonders, we should also take a look at the Hailili Koko. This is a Katsina figure made by the Native American Zuni culture of Arizona, probably somewhere around the year 1900. The figurine is more complex than it appears and is made of a variety of materials, including cottonwood, tanned leather, wool yarn, horsehair, paper, metal, and vegetable fiber. It might look like a representation of a person, but it's actually a representation of a godlike being. Zuni tradition holds that there are hundreds of different Katsinam, all of which are immortal entities responsible for the weather, healing, knowledge, and just about everything else. Zuni people sometimes dress up as Katsinam during ceremonies and dances, but the figurines are usually presented to young girls as they approach puberty. The dolls became popular with Western collectors during the 19th century, so the Zuni started to produce them purely for sale. The one that's in the Met's collection is thought to be an authentic model, rather than one that was made purely for sale or show. We'll check out one more artifact from the Met before we move on. This time, it's a bizarre-looking snake thread vase shaped like a mouse and made out of glass. It's in pristine condition without a single chip or crack, which is incredible when you consider that it was made by an unknown ancient Roman artist in the 3rd century. There are no other known ancient Roman artifacts that look anything like this. The shape is obviously unusual, but the color is unusual for the Romans too. Historians aren't sure whether the vase had a specific purpose. It was probably filled with wine rather than water, but it's an impractical vessel to carry around or drink out of. The Romans were masters when it came to working glass, but this would have been a difficult and time-consuming thing to make even for them. It seems unlikely that anybody would do so without a clear purpose in mind. But then again, we can't discount the possibility that it was made purely to be a novelty item. People like to have novelty items in their homes today, so we shouldn't assume that the Romans were any different. Earlier on in this video, we looked at an ancient tablet containing information that nobody's been able to translate so far. Let's balance that out by showing you a tablet that experts have done a little better with. This is a Babylonian clay tablet, known as Plimpton 322. It's a little under 4,000 years old. The meaning of the markings on its surface remained a mystery for a long time after its discovery, but it's now thought that it's a trigonometric table. If they're right, it would be the oldest trigonometric table in the world. The Babylonians might have used it as more than a simple learning aid. Some historians think that this tablet, or tablets like it, might have been used to calculate angles when building temples, palaces, and stepped pyramids. The artifact was found by Edgar J. Banks in what's now Tel as-Senqera, Iraq, during the early years of the 20th century. Banks was the real-life inspiration for the creation of the movie character Indiana Jones. He passed away in 1945, and so he never knew the meaning of the numbers on his discovery. Most of them are Pythagorean triples and have been found to describe the shapes of right-angled triangles using an unusual method based on ratios rather than angles or circles. 9,000 years ago, the prehistoric occupants of the land around Mount Hebron and the Judean mountains began to transition from a nomadic lifestyle to building settlements and farming the land. One of those early settlers also made this stone mask, and archaeologists think that the two things might be connected. They suspect that the mask was deliberately buried to denote ownership of the land upon which a house was built. Denoting ownership through burial was commonplace back then, although masks weren't usually involved. Masks of this kind are very rare in general. It's one of only 15 in the world that can be proven to have come from the Neolithic era. While they haven't been able to prove this, experts think that the mask might have been made from a cast taken from the face of a deceased person. Ancestor worship was practiced in this part of the world during Neolithic times, and death masks were a part of that. Despite the weight of this one, it's likely that it was designed to be worn during rituals. It has small holes on its sides, through which a string would have been passed to secure it to the wearer's face. That must have been a little uncomfortable. While many of the people and places referred to in the Bible have been identified and proven to exist, others haven't. Searching for biblical truth is a common obsession among archaeologists in and around Israel. And in February 2021, one such archaeologist believes that he's struck gold. According to Tim Meyer of the Shasta Bible College of California, an Aramaic inscription has been found that proves the existence of King David. The Hebrew Bible says that David killed Goliath and then became king of Judah and Israel, but archaeological evidence to support the idea of his physical existence is scant at best. This discovery might change that. It's a stone slab in Tel Dan, near the border of Lebanon, that mentions the House of David. The stele is said to be approximately 3,000 years old. Prior to this discovery, it had long been assumed that David was an important yet fictional national symbol, much like King Arthur of England. It still might not be what it appears to be, though. This could just as easily refer to a known dynasty from the Kingdom of Judah, as it might refer to the biblical king. And so the debate continues. The ultra-wealthy families who once owned the stately homes and mansions of England might not live in those homes anymore, but their trinkets still exist within the homes and upon the grounds. In 2018, a metal detectorist took to the grounds of Castern Hall in Staffordshire and unearthed a beautiful gold seal ring. The ring is set with a blue chalcedony gemstone and engraved with the initials GL, but the identity of GL is yet to be determined. Experts and antique dealers believe the artifact to be approximately 400 years old and have given it an approximate value of $40,000. Rings like this one were often used to stamp hot wax on an envelope to seal it, or to act as a signature on an official document. To that end, the seal often carried either the family crest or the initials of the bearer. Among the many theories about the identity of GL, the most popular is a man named Geoffrey Lowe, who lived during the 17th century and is an ancestor of the Hurt family who still own Castern Hall to this day. The ring was hidden beneath a large flat stone, which suggests deliberate burial for unknown reasons.